Good morning, class. Today we're going to be working on the Maasai Necklace unit. Now, Masai is a word you probably haven't heard before. It's the name of a people that live in Africa. So let's take a look at the old globe. Here's the US, and Africa is way over here on the other side. The Maasai people are found in Kenya, which is here in yellow, and northern Tanzania, which is orange. And that line going right across them, that's the equator. And you know and I know that at the equator things are very, very warm. So we're thinking about a culture where it's very warm and dry. The wealth in the Maasai culture is counted in cows. How much cattle do you have determines whether you're poor or whether you're rich. Cattle is so important in that culture that instead of saying good morning to each other, the normal greeting is to say, I hope your cattle are doing well. They get most of their meat, traditionally most of their food and drink, the milk and the meat from their cattle, and so it's very important. They have a very different culture than we have in the US, and their jewelry is very different than what we usually see in the US. Here are a couple of actual Maasai necklaces that I've managed to collect over the years. You can see they are really different than what we use, but I think they are so beautiful because of, look at these colors and look at these patterns, and they are handmade. The people in Africa, the Masai, will use these necklaces as a simple one necklace, or they can also, this is a good book, they can also wear multiple necklaces at the same time. They show, pardon me, they show their social status by how many necklaces they wear, by what colors they wear. There's lots of information in looking at the jewelry on a Maasai person. Both women and men wear these beads. So there's a lot of interesting information that you can get. You know, is someone married? Is someone not married? You know, how wealthy they are, how many cows they own, is all in the jewelry. So it means things in their culture. We will not be making our necklaces out of little tiny beads. I think that's maybe biting off more than we can chew for second and third graders. When you get to the high school class with me at the cooperative, we will make some of these little medallions, which they also use in the Maasai culture. So we will be doing beads later, but right now we're going to be using something a little simpler until it's easier for your hands to deal with the small stuff. So let's take a look into your unit bag. I've given you a number of paper plates, and let's protect Mom's tabletop there. We're going to protect it from the Sharpie markers. I'm going to take just one of these plates. Look carefully because they stick together sometimes, and we do want to be working with just one of the plates. So that right there is a not bad representation of the shape and the stiffness of this necklace, because this is also pretty pliable. So I am going to put the colors onto the paper plate, and I like this so much, I'm going to try to just do exactly what they've done here, because I think that is just, I mean, they are so successful in their color placement and their folk art that I just want to emulate it. So I have a whole bunch of Sharpie markers for the different colors. And I noticed that this is made up of, around this circle, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these triangles. So I am going to assign this to be my top, which means that my triangles are going to between here and here. I need to have the bottoms of 4 triangles. That's this one, this one, this one, and this one. So if I have to divide this up into 4 separate pieces, it's relatively easy to divide it up into 2 just by eye. And then if I bisect this length and I bisect this length, then I've got this as the bases of each of my triangles. Let's do the same on the other side. So here's what I have to divide up into 4. There I've divided it up into 2. That's about halfway between those two, and that's about halfway between those two. So this then will give me something to aim at. It's not going to be perfect. I don't want it to be perfect. This is folk art, and folk art isn't perfect. It looks handmade. That's what makes it beautiful. So if these two things are the base of a triangle, then that's my triangle. If these two are the base of my triangle, then there. And make a triangle across the bumps. It's nice that when I'm making a circle, there's kind of a place there for me to put my pen and just follow along in that little gully. And this last one's a big one. But you notice that by giving those 8 triangles, I've also given myself other triangles, which will also be filled in with color. So let's take a look at the colors, because in the Maasai culture, colors mean things. Red, for instance. Red beads represent blood, bravery, and unity, and also they say that red is the color of the Masai. So my red one is this one, and I will color this one in red. I also want this one red, and up at the top, this one is red. I'll go in and color those later. The color white is what is used to symbolize health, peace, and purity. So we don't have a white Sharpie, but I will show which ones want to be white. I'm just going to outline them a little bit in the black so that I know that this part is white, because although I don't have a white pen, I do have a white paper plate. So by giving this a bit of an outline, I will remember that that stays white. This one down here is white. This one over here is white. Just so that I don't think that I have forgotten to give this one a color when I get to the end. And this one up here is white. Yellow is the color that they use to represent the sun, fertility, and growth. Now, I don't have any yellow squares here, but I do have this yellow outline. And so I will come along here, and using that trick with that little gully, just move my hand smoothly along here and give myself that little splash of sun color. I've made this little mark at the top so that I can always orient it upright again once I've messed around the outsides, and I won't get myself confused. The color blue is the godly color. This is the color of the sky for the Masai. So this one is blue. This one is blue. And red. Blue is next to it here. This one is also blue. I also have this lovely blue color right around next to the neck. So I want to put that in as well. And to make this, yes, there is a gully for me to follow, but if I put my hand in one place and just arc it around, I know my hand is larger than yours, so it's easier for me to make an arc maybe than it is for you to make an arc, but you just keep moving your hand and making that little arc all the way around. And my mark at the top helps me again. Orange is the color that represents warmth and friendship and generosity. So I like orange. We'll put orange here, and orange is in half of this one here. No other orange. Green is the color that represents God's greatest blessing, which the Maasai define as fresh grass grown after rainfall. You can imagine at the equator, when rain comes, they're very happy to see it, especially if their cattle need to graze on grass. So green is here. Green is just upstream from red on this side. Green is here. And that looks like all of my colors. Have I missed something? There's the blue. Oh, that one's white. See, it's good that I outlined it so I remember that that one's not forgotten. This one up here is white. This one here is white because I'm looking good. All right. Now you'll notice also on the edge of this one, there's black and white next to each other all the way around. Contrast is very loved in this culture. They like putting dark next to light because that to them is beautiful. They say that that's like the dichotomy that we see in day and night, in war and peace, in youth and age. This is, they see as a very natural state, and they see that as beautiful. So they like to put contrast next to each other. So I can go around and represent that by doing this on my paper plate. And boy, my mom is really glad that I have newspaper underneath of this while I'm working on this part. So I'm going to go now and fill in all these colors, and we'll catch up with each other in just a second. Okay, we're back together again. I have done the coloring on my necklace, and I have also, because this necklace has this cute little tab going on down here, I wanted to also have a tab. So on another one of the paper plates, I represented that tab here. And this line here is just to remind me that when I'm cutting it out, I do not want to cut along this line, even though that's all that shows. I do want to have a tab up here so I can attach it to the other one. So those are ready to go. I have also made up something similar to this one. Now I've done here in the middle these black, white, or red, black, and I've represented it with just little lines of color. The only reason I show this specifically is because I know that some of us in this class like to be fiddly with their work, and so if you want to be fiddly, have at it. Others are not interested in being fiddly, and if that's you, then you can just give this a full color ring, or you can just color it all solid. Either way is fine. I do want to mention that these colors want to be saturated. So what does saturated mean? That's kind of a 50-cent word. Saturated means I want to have full color. So if I've got a spot where I've got white showing through, I don't want it skimpy, I want it saturated. So I am going to fill in all of that. Saturated is you can also say instead of pink, you want red. So you want as much color as possible. You want red full on. That means you're not going to use any washed out color. You're going to make it full. Also, I noticed while working around the outside of this thing, there's two different ways you can make the black and white beads. You can do it with your tip like this, and that works fine. But I found that you can also, if you use the side of your pen, you can also get something much wider, which might actually be a better representation for the black beads and the white beads in the end. It also goes faster because you cover more real estate with each stroke. But I'm really glad I have this newspaper because all of these dots on your desktop, yeah, in Sharpie, yeah, your mom would not be pleased. So we'll just finish this up here. And then I think I am ready to make these from pretty plates into pretty necklaces. We'll start out with this one. Let's see, the top of my necklace was here, where you see there's a cut. We're done with the coloring, we can get rid of that. So I'm going to take my scissors and cut into the center. I'm going to cut out now a neck hole. And I've added a yellow one on the inside here because I wanted to be sure to have more yellow because there wasn't enough yellow in the necklace for me. So I'm cutting this. You'll notice that I'm cutting off a little bit of my color as well. You see there's still some yellow there. But I want to make sure that my necklace colors are saturated all the way to the edge. So I can do that by cutting off a little bit of the color as well. Then I'm sure to have color all the way to the edge. Whoops, there's some white showing. And that is then out. My tab also wants to be cut out. And remember, you need to have something that's going to be invisible, but it will allow you to attach it. And I have a stapler. I'll want to put this right at the bottom across from the opening. So I'll put it right there. 2 staples should hold it in place. And there is a cool necklace. We'll do the same thing with this one. There was the mark I made for where the opening should be. I'm making this one with a different diameter of hole because the diameters that the Maasai have in their necklaces are also very different. You saw them all hanging down at different layers. Okay, now those can either be necklaces to put on yourself and to look beautiful, or they can also hang on a wall because they're folk art, and folk art is beautiful. So remember, when you hear of the Maasai, there's 2 things you think of right away. You think of cattle and you think of dazzling beadwork.